So in today's session, we'll be discussing a few concepts related to communication. That is, what is meant by baseband signal. Then what is meant by bandpass signal. Then we'll be discussing regarding what is actually low pass signal, or sometimes it is also specified as the band limited signal. It is specified as band limited signal. So these are few things what we'll be discussing at the start. So then we'll go ahead with a few concepts related to sampling. So what are the steps involved in sampling? So we'll just be discussing the overview and what is the result of sampling. So once we do complete the sampling process, what we get. Now, what is the condition to look out for sampling process? What is the condition we have to look out for the sampling process? So which is actually termed as Shannon sampling condition or criteria. So it is related to this. Then apart from this, we'll be discussing concepts pertinent to what is meant by bit error rate. In short, we term it as BER. Then what is actually antipodal? Sorry. What is meant by antipodal signal? Then one important concept which comes is when you specify communication, how do you classify it to be digital and how do you classify it to be analog? So these are few things what we'll be discussing. Then apart from this, from this part, what we get is whether the communication is relevant to digital, which we specify as digital communication, and whether the communication is related to analog, whether it is analog communication. So with respect to this, we need to discuss what are the advantages of digital communication, or sometimes we specify it as digital communication systems or system. Okay. So these are a few things what I'm planning to discuss today. So if possible, a few other concepts are there. So that also we'll be discussing. Okay. So all of us have discussed regarding say signals and systems. So you had previously studied a subject which was termed as signals and systems, where you came across what is meant by signal, what is meant by system. So what are the operations that you can perform on those signals? So if you remember some transformations also you have learned, say for example, you had learned Z transform, then you had learned Laplace transform, then Fourier transform, then how you can represent a signal in its series form, that is Fourier series, or different functions. So then, so these are just a few things which you had gone through. Then apart from that, later on, you also have come across few transforms or transformations which were relevant to a Fourier transform. That is the extended version of that, the discrete Fourier transform, wherein the signal is in discrete form. So if you consider Fourier transform, it is applied on the continuous signal. When you convert it into a discrete form, you go in for, say, if transformation you have to apply transformation such as discrete Fourier transform or discrete cosine transform, discrete sine transform. So these are just a few examples to name around. So that is in digital signal processing, you have come across these terms. In signals and systems, majority of the transformations what I had discussed, you see that it is done on your continuous signal, wherein you write the signal in what form you write it as x of t, x of t, y of t. So wherein this representation implies that the signal is continuous. Now, if the signal is discrete, you used some this representation, that is x of n, where n is 0 to up to infinity, depending on what type of signal you have, how many samples are there. So those all things. So if you apply you can apply Fourier transform, then you can apply Z transform, Laplace transform on continuous signals. That is, it is for continuous signals. And when you come to discrete signals, right, you came across discrete Fourier transform, discrete sine transform, discrete cosine transform. So all these things you have gone through. So all these basics also are required in digital communication. Now coming down to the basic part, that is what is actually meant by baseband signal. So whenever information signals are encoded and transmitted without modulation, that is, signal has no modulation done. That is, you have a message signal, say we specify it as, say, m of t. On this message signal, using this message signal, you are not performing any modulation. You're not performing any modulation. So in your analog communication, you had come across a few terms like amplitude modulation, phase modulation, frequency modulation. So many terms you had come across. So you're not applying any modulation technique using this message signal. You're directly transmitting this m of t. This message signal, you are directly transmitting it. So if you're transmitting this message signal, right, without any modulation applied to it, you can encode it or any other process you can do, but you're not modulating it. You're directly sending in it somewhat in the raw form. So if you do that, that signal, we specify it as baseband signal. That is, no modulation is applied using m of t. M of t is transmitted, but without any modulation, without any application of modulation. Now, what is meant by band pass signal? Now, the same thing, if you have, say, for example, a message signal m of t, and you want to transmit this signal, m of t. Now, you can transmit it directly. If you transmit it directly, it will be termed as what? It will be termed as baseband signal. But if you transmit it with the help of modulation, that is, m of t changes some characteristics of the carrier signal, and that entire signal is transmitted. Say in AM, you change the amplitude of the carrier signal and keep the rest of the characteristics as it is. Say, for example, frequency, phase, you don't disturb that of the carrier signal. So if you apply that and send that AM signal, so I'll be classifying it as a band pass signal. So in baseband signal, I'll not be applying any modulation. I'll be transmitting the message signal as it is. You can encode it and transmit it. That is not a problem, but you are not applying any modulation over there. But in bandpass signal, what you're doing is you are applying modulation techniques and then transmitting the entire message. So under this, the signal gets classified as bandpass signal. So next comes what is meant by low pass signal or band limited signal. So the name itself tells that it is a low pass or it's band limited. What is meant by band? So it refers to the frequency content. Frequency content of what? Frequency content of the signal. Now here when we specify, right, Whenever we have a signal which is having finite frequency components, whenever a signal has finite frequency components, if it is having finite number of frequency components, then that signal is classified as band limited signal. Band limited signal. But in Fourier series, right? Fourier series, you might have observed that any signal, for example, if I just take S of t, it can be represented in its DC and say sine components and cosine components. It can be represented in any signal can be represented with its DC component, that is average component, sine component, and cosine component. So if this is the case, what happens is if you just observe in the Fourier series, you can represent the signal with infinite number of frequency components. You can represent a signal with infinite number of frequency component. So what does this do is, this actually indicates that there are no signals which are band limited in nature, because all the signals I can represent using infinite number of frequency components. It is because of the Fourier series concepts. I can represent any signal with any number of frequency components depending at the infinite number of frequency components. That is in terms of its harmonics, DC and the harmonics, first harmonic, second harmonic, if you remember it. So that is how it is represented. So in this way, what happens is it goes up to infinite number of harmonics or infinite number of frequency components which are present in the signal. So in general, there is no signal which is band limited in nature. But how do I get a band limited signal? In order to get a band limited signal, what I do is I pass the signal, for example, say S of t through a low pass filter. So when I pass it through a low pass filter, what I get is I get a component, I get a signal which is low pass in its nature, which is containing low frequency components. So it will be containing frequencies in one particular range. So here what I'm doing is infinite number of frequency components. In this case, when I pass it through a low pass filter, I'll be getting a signal which will be having finite number of frequency components. So here when I do this, I'll be able to get a band limited signal, and therefore we have the term as low pass signal. So this is what is happening in this case. So first we discussed regarding the baseband signal, wherein no modulation is done and directly the message signal is transmitted. Once you do the modulation and send the modulated signal, that signal will be classified as band pass signal. Then band limited signal, wherein the band specifies that there are limited number of frequency components. But in practical, because of Fourier series representation, we can see that any of the signal can be represented with an infinite number of frequency components. Therefore, in nature, we don't have any signal which is band limited in nature. But if I have to convert any signal into band limited, then I say pass it through a filter. Say here we specify as a low pass filter. So when I pass it through a low pass filter, I'll be having a signal which is having only specified frequency components based on the filter parameters. Based on the filter parameters. Say for example, what is the cutoff frequency? What is the bandwidth? So based on that, I'll be having the output signal, which will be which we get after the filter will be the band limited signal. Since we are passing it say through a low pass filter, we can classify it as a low pass signal. So this is related to the basics of the signals. So because why we are discussing this part is henceforth when we start off with the first module, right? In that we'll be regularly using these terms like a band pass signal, a baseband signal, a band limited signal. So this is what we'll be discussing. So therefore, you should be knowing what these terms are referred to. Okay. So next comes one important concept, which is termed as sampling. So what does actually sampling do? Now, previously we had seen that we have uh, we have analog signals. Say you consider the voice signal. Voice is an analog signal. You can consider any other, say, signal from any of the instruments, say musical instruments. The instrument what it is generating, it's an analog signal. Now I want to convert this analog signal to its digital form. I want to convert the analog signal to its digital form. That is, I want to convert it into a digital signal. So in order to do this, what I should do, I should pass the analog signal through a process called as sampling. I should pass the analog signal through sampling. And the result of this sampling will be a digital signal. So sampling basically, in short, what it does is it takes the analog input and gives you the digital output. So sampling is conversion of analog signal to digital signal. Now signal is one dimensional, even in two dimensional, for example, images. Even in images also, we capture the intensity of the light and other information. Then we convert that information into digital and then store in the memory. So there also analog to digital conversion is happening. So sampling, in short, what we specify is sampling is the process of converting analog information to digital information. So that is what you are doing. But what are the steps which are involved in sampling? The first step, in sampling, you are converting it into discrete form. Sorry, you are converting it into a discrete signal. Discrete signal. Sorry, pardon me. You're converting after the sampling process. What you're doing is you are converting the analog signal to its discrete form. So this already you have done, or you have gone through these concepts. So in a digital signal processing, so there you came across the specifications wherein you have a continuous signal. For example, it is x of t. Now using this x of t, you obtained x of n. So here what you did, you consider the continuous signal, that is the analog signal. You passed it through sampling and you just retain the samples of this original signal. So that samples which we retain will be represented with x of n. So that is what is happening in this case. So instead of steps in sampling, it is actually different. I'll discuss that part a little bit later. So here what you're doing, you are considering a analog signal. You are passing it through, you are passing it through sampling process, and then you are getting the discrete signal. Now this is also fine. If I want to get digital signals from analog signals, what I have to do is I have a few steps to be followed. So that actually will be discussed over here. Steps involved in a conversion of analog to digital signals, that we'll be discussing here. So here, remember, you're taking continuous signal, you're passing it through sampling process, and then you're getting a discrete signal. Now there is a difference between discrete and digital. That's why I changed this term. Previously, I was using it as digital. It is not digital. Sampling process gives you a discrete signal. So now what is the difference between these two? What is discrete and what is digital? So here also you have analog signal. So you have an analog signal, you pass it through the sampling process. You pass it through sampling process. Output of sampling is a discrete signal. Now this signal, that is the discrete signal, if I pass it through a process called as quantization, if I pass it through a process called as quantization, I'll be getting a digital signal. We'll be getting a signal which will be digital in nature. So for example, if I have something specified as x of t is equal to say t. So you specify some conditions, all the conditions. So now x of t is equal to t if I specify in this form. Now if I pass it through the sampling process. So if I pass it through the sampling process, I'll be getting discrete signal. So if you remember, you represented it in this form. So since I have specified it as x of t, you can have, you just retain the discrete samples. So x of say -1 in x of n. So here when n is in this case n is in the range of -infinity to infinity. So when I consider any values, it will be like say it can have values of -2, -1, then it can have 0, then 1, 2, and so on. So here you can see that it will be continuous in its nature, but when we consider x of n, right, it will be having only certain samples. So if I have to represent it, right, I have to represent it. So suppose I have so this is your continuous time representation. If x of t is equal to t, what happens is I'll be getting a straight line which will be passing through 0. So this is how I'll be getting it. So I'll be getting a signal in this form. So this is a continuous representation. Now, if I pass this through sampling process, what will happen is, so here I'll be having n. So if I pass it through sampling process, I'll be having a discrete signal. So at 0, I'll be having one sample. At 1, I might be having another sample. At 2, I'll be having another sample. At 3, I'll be having another sample. So on, it will continue. So at -1, you'll be having another sample, -2 another, -3 another, and it will continue. So here, if you just observe, so I am taking one sample at this point. Next sample is this value. Next sample is this. Next sample is this, and it will continue. So similarly here also, next sample, that is sample value is this one. So this is how I represent it. So this is discrete. This is discrete. This is your analog signal, which is continuous. Your analog signal, which is continuous. Now, what happens with respect to say digital? So once I have got a discrete signal, I can pass it through a process of quantization, and I can get a digital representation. So it is all dependent on quantization. So in quantization, basically what is done is, now for example, you have got a sample at this point. So you take this point, you identify what is its voltage, and based on that you assign some zeros and ones to it. So you represent this value in terms of zeros and ones. So suppose I have voltage over here, so which is 3 volt. It is say in this range. For 3 volt, the representation, for example, I'm just taking an example. Say for the 3 volts, the representation is 1010. I'm just taking an example over here. So representation is 1010. So 3 volt will be represented in this form. Now any voltage within this range, say you'll be having some specification for the quantization. So based on that, any voltage, say from 2.5 to 3.5, all will be represented as 1010. So here what you're doing is, once you get the discrete value, you assign zeros and ones to it. That is digital, you represent it in binary form. You represent that in binary form. So when you represent it in binary, it will be in zeros or ones form. So when you do this, right, when you quantize it, you'll be getting the digital, signal. Okay. So this is what is happening in this case. So that is what I have represented over here. So once you do that, you'll be getting, you pass this entire thing to through quantization. Then what happens is, you'll be getting these things represented in terms of, say, zeros and ones. For example, if I just take -2 might be represented with some value over there. So depending on how many bits are there in terms of zeros and ones. So in the same way, -1 might be represented with some other representation over there. So in this way, it will be continuing. Okay, it is 1010 10 and 1. So it will be continuing in this form. So this is what will be happening in sampling process. And as I discussed, the steps involved in conversion of analog to digital, it is nothing but, first you consider the analog signal. Pass it through sampling process. So once you pass it through sampling process, you'll be getting the discrete signal. So once this discrete signal is passed through quantization, you'll be getting a digital signal. So these are the steps which are involved in analog to digital conversion. So you might have come across this term ADC, which is analog to digital conversion. So these are the steps which are involved in analog to digital conversion. So the steps which are basically highlighted is sampling and then quantization. So these are the two major steps involved in sampling and quantization, involved in analog to digital conversion. Now, whenever we are talking of sampling, right, there is one rule what we have to follow. That is the condition which is related to sampling, which is given by Shannon. That is called as Shannon's sampling theorem. Or instead of condition, we can just specify it as Shannon's sampling theorem. Now, in this case, so what happens is, now you have a signal. Say S of t, and it is having a maximum frequency. Component of Fm. So it is having a maximum frequency component of Fm. So here, what is Fm specifying? Fm is indicating that this is the maximum frequency component which is present in this signal. Now, since we are limiting the frequency, right? we specify this S of t as band limited signal. Now that is S of t will be stated as band limited signal. So first what we looked out, we consider the signal S of t, which is having a maximum frequency component of f of m. So if we specify this, what happens is we are indirectly specifying that S of t is a band limited signal because it is having only finite number of frequency components in which the highest frequency component is fm. So whenever we come across this thing, we define the Shannon's sampling theorem. If I have to recover an information, say for example, here we were discussing about the analog to digital conversion. Okay. So we were discussing regarding this. We had an analog signal and we converted, sorry, we obtained the discrete version of this. Now, for example, what we do is, once we convert this into its discrete form, we quantize it and we send it. That is, we transmit this signal. We do quantization, we do all the processes, we do modulation, everything, we transmit it. Now, at the other end, what happens is, we should be able to get back the original information. That is, if it was, say, x of t is equal to t. So I should be able to get back this information from these discrete components. I should be able to get back these information from these discrete components. Now, once we do sampling, right, what is happening is this part is lost. So this part is lost. Only the sample values are retained. So this part is lost. Say another sample comes over here. So this is what is happening. So we have another sample over here. So I'm having only a sample values in between. Few of the components will be lost over here. Now this loss which is there should not affect the recovery of the signal at the receiver end. So it should not affect the recovery of the signal at the receiver end. So in such cases, what we have to look out is, we have to see that these samples are close enough based on some condition. Now, if the distance between these two samples is very high, if it is very high, then what happens is I'll not be able to estimate whether the transmitted signal is equal to T or whether it will be some other signal. So I'll not be able to recover the signal. Suppose now I am talking, so from my voice is reaching you through the microphone, then it is being transmitted and you are receiving it. Now what am I talking should be the same what you will be receiving. So whatever you have received should be the same what I had sent from this end. So here what is happening is, even in this process also sampling and quantization is happening, and at the other end, that is at your end, the reverse process is happening. So once quantized information is there, you'll be receiving that information, you dequantize it, and then you try to recover the original signal and try to get back what is x of t. What is x of t? So here what happens is, I have to look out for a process called as sampling process. So in this case, what is happening? I have to satisfy the sampling condition. That is what I mentioned. If the distance is too large between the samples, then it becomes really difficult because this part is lost. Because this part is lost. So this loss should not affect the recovery of the signal. So you should try to see that based on some condition, some distance criteria has to be implied. That is, the distance between these two samples should be maximum, this maximum should have a maximum value of this, not more than that. If you go beyond that distance, say if two samples are there and distance, that is the separation between them is based on the frequency, the separation is around f1, or it is dependent on the time t1 sampling, we call it as the sampling rate. So it is dependent on that. So based on this distance, right, this should have some maximum value, say t max, beyond which you will not be able to recover the signal. So if you sample only in this range, you'll be able to recover it. But if you increase the distance, you'll not be able to recover the signal. So as you go further right, at that moment, you'll be able to identify actually what is happening in these cases. Okay. So in this case, right? So what does Shannon sampling theorem specify? So in short, if I have to if I have to just specify, right? Whenever we have a limited signal, and we want to sample it, that is, I want the discrete components of this analog signal. Whenever we have a band limited signal and we have to sample it, so we have to sample it based on the maximum frequency component. So whenever I am doing sampling, right, I have to use something called as sampling frequency. So which is specified as Fs, So if I have a band limited signal whose maximum frequency component is Fm, then this signal S of t, has to be sampled at a sampling frequency which should be satisfying this condition. Fs should be greater or equal to 2 times Fm. Fs should be greater or equal to 2 times Fm. So this is the condition for sampling. That is Shannon's sampling theorem. So if you have any band limited signal which is having a maximum frequency component of Fm, then the sampling frequency should be chosen such that it satisfies this condition, which specifies Fs should be greater than or equal to 2 Fm. So based on this, what happens is we have 3 conditions. I'll discuss that condition and then we'll wind up this session. So what is the first condition? First condition is undersampling. So when does undersampling happen? So undersampling happens under this case, when this condition is not satisfied. When you choose a sampling frequency and this sampling frequency is less time twice the maximum frequency which is present in this band limited signal S of t. So this gives rise to undersampling. Now, due to undersampling, what happens is you will not be able to recover the original information at the receiver end. So in this case, what is happening? If you're not satisfying, you are increasing the distance between the samples, due to which recovery becomes really difficult. So what is the alternate? What is the thing? You have to reduce the distance. So now there is something called as oversampling. So when does oversampling appear? Oversampling appears when you satisfy this condition, that is sampling frequency is greater than 2 times Fm. So whenever sampling frequency is greater than 2 times Fm, you give rise to what is called as oversampling. Now what should be the case for this one? Fs equal to 2 times Fm. So this is termed as critical sampling. So under this case, right, under critical sampling, right, under critical sampling, it is assured that you will be able to recover the signal at the receiver. You'll be able to recover the signal at the receiver. So that is, here we are specifying that, right? The maximum distance between these two. So if it goes beyond this, that is, it gives rise to oversampling. If it is exactly at that position, it gives rise to the critical sampling. But if the distance is less, then it gives rise to oversampling. So this, when you convert it into time representation, you'll be getting the conditions in terms of the time information. That is sampling. This is the sampling frequency. When you consider, so this is actually equal to what? 1 by Ts. Sorry, it is 1 by Ts, where Ts is what? Ts is the sampling rate. Ts is the sampling rate. So if you use this and apply the condition over here, right, you'll be getting it in terms of sampling rate. So you can just apply and see how it turns out. Okay. So this is what is relevant to sampling. So this is all for today. Any discussion from your end?